37 years ago on Valentine's Day, Princess Diana announced she was pregnant with her son, Harry. And last night, Prince Harry and his wife Meghan made their own announcement. The
Duke and Duchess of Sussex told the world they are expecting their second child. And we're joined by royal commentator Victoria Arbiter and by royal commentator and biographer Angela Levin. Good to see both of you this morning. So, Victoria, what were your thoughts when you saw that picture? Were you delighted? Did you expect people to react positively to it?
Well, I think anything the Sussexes do is immediately divisive. So, of course, there were bound to be some negative comments, but I think it's really time we set negativity aside. It's been a rotten old year when we think sort of dating back to February of last year when the Sussexes were winding down their life as senior working members of the royal family. In that time, they've moved countries, they've bought a house, launched a foundation, very sadly had to deal with the grief of a miscarriage. And now they have some happy news. And I think we could all use a little happy news. So, yes, this picture was unusual in terms of how royal announcements go, but actually I think it was also very smart because had they just said Meghan was expecting a baby, the paparazzi would have descended on Los Angeles. By releasing their own picture, they've released the value of, reduced the value of anything the paparazzi could come up with.
It came very quickly after that significant decision, the privacy win last week, though, didn't it? And I suppose that's one of the things that's raised eyebrows, that they were fighting so hard to guard privacy of something that they didn't want to release. And now this lovely news that they do want to release, they've released in a very intimate way.
They did release it in an intimate way, but I think we have to be clear that Harry and Meghan never said they wanted 100% privacy. They just wanted to be able to balance their private life with their public role, and they wanted people to understand what was off limits. And of course, both of them are entitled to a private life. Part of their move to LA was certainly to become financially independent. It was also to be able to conduct their working life free of the constraints of royal life, but it was also to be able to guard the privacy and protect the privacy of their family. Now, they're always going to be a draw. So again, I think by releasing this picture on their own terms, they're controlling the narrative. They're reducing the furor that would come with the paparazzi descending on Santa Barbara, which would be deeply unpleasant. The paparazzi are notorious in California. And so I think this was a way of being able to share their news with the public, but also to be able to control the narrative.
Angela, it's interesting how this is being received over here. Lots of people thrilled, as Victoria's saying, because it's been such an awful start to the year and we've been going through so much that there's this lovely light. And whenever a new baby is announced, it's exciting. But equally, it feels like for some, it's quite divisive. On the one hand, they want to stop the press invading their privacy. On the other hand, they want to control the narrative. They want to control the press, so only ever get the good press. And that feels like it's sort of a double-edged sword for them.
Yes, I think so. I think the control is very, very significant. It's much too controlling, actually, and they're using the press as an outlet for PR, not for people to make comments and say things. I think it was extraordinary that it was so intimate. I don't think you can say one week, you know, be the victim, and the next week be showing people with your stomach and lying there and looking longingly in your husband's face. I don't know, it just makes me feel a bit uncomfortable.
I do know the Daily Star has this, sums up that idea, doesn't it? Just so that people can look at it while you're asking your question.
Yeah.
You know, a publicity-shy woman tells 7.67 billion people, I'm pregnant.
But the reality is...
That's the divisive and the questioning, isn't it?
I do think that after a miscarriage, it is wonderful for anybody to know that their body's working again properly and they can have a child. That child becomes even more precious. So I don't want to smear that, but it does say that, you know, I wish Meghan didn't want to score points all the time. When they feel like it, they can be quite rude and unhelpful. And if they just relaxed, I hope this baby will help her relax and not feel she's got to challenge everything in the most minute details to get exactly what she wants. And the other worrying thing, of course, is will this new baby ever see his father's family? I think there's a doubt over that. He'll be a little American. He can also be English too. But will they ever see him? And I think the Queen made a very nice comment that everybody's delighted. And of course they are. But there is a sadness underneath that she hasn't seen Archie as a person for a very long time. And so there's a sorrow. He will be her 11th great-grandchild, which will be quite amazing. But I do think it's quite sad as well as being happy.
Victoria, let's talk about the realities of it. I think the baby will be the most senior royal in history to be born outside the United Kingdom. So it makes the little boy or the little girl a bit of a groundbreaker in many ways. What sort of practical difference does that make to the child's royal lineage? I'm assuming it won't get in the way of where they sit in the line to the throne.
You're absolutely right, Ben. And this is partly what I love about the royal family, is somebody is always making history. Yes, this is the most senior member of the royal family, certainly the only one of the Queen's immediate descendants to be born overseas. Maud Windsor, she's the granddaughter of Prince and Princess Michael of Kent. She was born in LA in 2013, but I think she's number 50 or 51 in the line to succession. But this won't affect the baby at all. Yes, he or she will probably have an American accent, and yes, he or she will probably spend the majority of their time growing up in the US. But this baby, when they're born, will be eighth in line to the throne. Chances of he or she coming to the throne are very slim. It would take a catastrophic event for this baby to one day assume the throne. So I think we have to keep it all in perspective. And the fact is that the royal family are delighted. The Queen won't be able to, or wouldn't have been able to, see any of her great-grandbabies this year anyway because of the lockdown restrictions. So hopefully it won't be too long before the Sussexes are able to bring both Archie and the new baby to the UK to meet the family.
Do you know if they spoke to the Queen first before making the announcement?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They did let the family know in advance. There has been some speculation that the palace was slightly caught unawares. It's a Sunday and they didn't have a statement ready to go. But of course, they rustled something together. And ultimately, all that needed to be said was that the family were indeed delighted and wished Harry and Meghan the very best. So the Queen, I think this is a banner year for her when we look again at history. The Queen Mother met 9 of her great-grandbabies. Eugenie just had the 9th great-grandbaby of our current Queen. Zara Tindall and Meghan will make it 10 and 11. So even at almost 95, the Queen is still breaking records, setting new records. And I think Prince Philip, he once said he couldn't think of anything worse than living to 100. He, of course, will be 100 in June, but I'm sure he is delighted to see his family expanding.
Just quickly before we let you go as well, names. Apparently, according to the bookmakers, Alfie and Alexandra are top of the list.
Is it something to do with the age? Are they going with an age theme?
Angela, what do you think? Alfie and Alexandra?
Well, it sounds rather nice, actually. It sounds rather grand. I think that is very sweet. Just one thing I wanted to say. I wondered whether Meghan was pregnant when she wrote the piece about her terrible miscarriage, because you can't absolutely face up to it unless you think there's something hopeful. And she did that in November. The miscarriage was in July. And I just wondered whether she felt able to write that. It was indeed very moving because she was pregnant again with another baby, because she looks about 5-6 months pregnant to me.
Sometimes it's easier to face up and to have hope, isn't it? Once you've got hope, to face up to the bleak things. Yeah, very interesting. Angela, of course, is an A. We could chuck that in.
Angela could be there. Victoria, have they given us any idea of when the baby actually is due?
I'd be very honoured, but I doubt it.
No, they haven't, Ben. They haven't given us any indication, and I think that's on purpose. Diana once said when she was pregnant with William, she felt like the whole world was watching her baby bump and waiting for her to start pushing. It's a tremendous amount of pressure. So I think as well, Harry and Meghan will be keen to keep the paparazzi circus at bay as well. As Angela pointed out, it does look like she's a little bit further along. I am not an OBGYN. I would never want to presume to guess how pregnant she is. But again, I only have one child. People who've got 2 have told me that your baby belly tends to pop a little bit sooner. Who knows? This all feels deeply personal, but I think perhaps we can expect a summer baby.